When you look at a map of the world, there is a place where the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans seem almost close enough to touch, separated only by a narrow strip of land known as the Isthmus of Panama. For centuries, that thin stretch of land was not a bridge between two worlds, but a barrier that forced ships and men into difficult choices. Either endure the long and treacherous journey around Cape Horn, where violent storms and shipwrecks were constant threats, or unload cargo, cross the land, and continue the voyage on the other side, a process that was slow, expensive, and unpredictable. And yet, in that very place, humanity made a decision that would forever change the balance of the world. Not to go around the obstacle, but to cut through it, not with a tunnel, but with a canal. What followed was not simply an engineering project, but a transformation of global trade, military power, and the way continents connected to each other. The Panama Canal was not born out of ambition alone, but from necessity. Because in a world driven by trade, distance is not just geography. It is time, cost, and ultimately, power. Shortening that distance meant reshaping entire economies, allowing ships to move between oceans in days instead of weeks, and giving those who controlled the route an undeniable strategic advantage. It was this understanding that led the French at the end of the 19th century to attempt what many believed would be a repeat of their success with the Suez Canal. But Panama was nothing like Suez. There was no vast, flat desert here, only dense jungle, relentless rainfall, and terrain that seemed to resist every effort to control it. Rivers could swell within hours, landslides could undo weeks of work in a single moment, and the environment itself felt alive, unpredictable, and hostile. Yet the greatest danger was not visible. Yellow fever and malaria spread silently, cutting through the workforce faster than progress could be made, turning the construction site into something closer to a battlefield than an engineering project. Thousands lost their lives, and despite all efforts, the French were fighting not only nature, but a flawed idea: the attempt to build a canal at sea level, cutting directly through hills, rock, and unstable ground in a region where the land itself refused to stay still. The deeper they dug, the more the earth collapsed around them. Costs spiraled out of control, and the timeline stretched endlessly until eventually the entire project collapsed under its own weight, leaving behind not only financial ruin, but the sense that the canal itself might simply be impossible. And it was at this point that the United States entered the story, bringing with it not only resources, but a different vision. For them, the canal was not merely a commercial shortcut, it was a strategic asset, a way to control the movement of goods and naval power across the globe, to reduce response times, and to project influence far beyond their borders. But even with funding and political will, the same obstacles remained, and the Americans quickly realized that success would depend on solving two fundamental problems that had defeated the French: nature and health. The first breakthrough came from a shift in perspective. Instead of forcing the canal to match the land, they redesigned the canal to work with it, abandoning the idea of a sea-level passage and replacing it with a system of locks, an approach that would lift ships up to an artificial lake in the center of the isthmus and then lower them back down on the other side. This concept, often compared to a giant water elevator, dramatically reduced the need for excavation and transformed the project from an uncontrollable struggle into something that could finally be managed. But engineering alone was not enough, because the greatest threat still came from disease. This is where one of the most critical and often overlooked breakthroughs took place. Through a large-scale campaign of sanitary engineering, the Americans targeted the true source of the problem: mosquitoes. They drained stagnant water, cleared breeding grounds, introduced protective measures such as nets, and enforced new sanitation standards across the construction zone. At the time, these measures were revolutionary, and their impact was immediate. As cases of yellow fever and malaria declined, the workforce stabilized, and for the first time, the project had a chance to continue without being constantly undermined by loss of life. Without this turning point, the Panama Canal would likely have remained unfinished. All with disease brought under control and a new engineering approach in place, the project entered its most physically demanding phase: the cutting of the land itself. Nowhere was this more evident than in the Culebra Cut, a vast trench carved through hills and rock, where each day brought the sound of explosions, the movement of heavy machinery, and the continuous operation of trains carrying away enormous volumes of earth. Yet even here, progress was never straightforward. The terrain remained unstable, and landslides repeatedly erased days of work, forcing crews to begin again in a cycle that was as exhausting as it was relentless. It was not a single battle, but an ongoing confrontation between human effort and the forces of nature. Another challenge demanded attention: water. The Chagres River, unpredictable and powerful, posed a constant threat, capable of shifting from calm to destructive in a matter of hours. Rather than attempting to control it through force alone, engineers turned it into part of the solution by constructing a massive dam and creating Lake Gatun, an artificial body of water that would become a central component of the canal itself. The lake not only helped regulate flooding, but also provided the water required to operate the lock system, where each passage of a ship depends on gravity-driven flows of water filling and emptying massive chambers. The process is simple in principle, but extraordinary in scale. A ship enters a chamber, the gates close, water levels rise or fall, and the vessel is gradually lifted or lowered before continuing its journey. Repeated across multiple stages, this system allows ships to cross a difference in elevation of about 26 meters, an amount that seems modest until it is applied to vessels of immense size. When the Panama Canal finally opened in 1914, the impact was immediate and far-reaching. Routes that once required weeks of travel were reduced to a matter of hours. Trade accelerated, supply chains adapted, and the global balance of commerce shifted in response to this new connection between oceans. Yet the canal has never been a static achievement. As ships grew larger and global trade expanded, the limitations of the original design became apparent. Leading to a major expansion completed in 2016 with the introduction of larger locks capable of accommodating a new generation of vessels known as Neo-Panamax. In this way, the canal evolved from a single project into a dynamic system, one that continues to adapt to the changing demands of the world. Even so, it remains dependent on a fragile balance because its true resource is not steel or concrete, but fresh water. Each transit consumes vast amounts of water drawn from rainfall, and when those levels drop, the capacity of the canal is directly affected, reducing the number of ships that can pass and influencing global trade in ways that extend far beyond Panama itself. Beyond engineering and logistics, the canal also represents a point of geopolitical significance. For much of the 20th century, it was controlled by the United States, reflecting its strategic importance until control was formally transferred to Panama in 1999. Today, it stands not only as a vital economic asset for the country, but as one of the most critical transit points in the global system. But behind this achievement lies a cost that cannot be measured only in financial terms. The canal is also a story of human endurance, of lives lost, of decisions made under pressure in an environment that offered little margin for error. It is both a triumph of engineering and a reminder of the price that was paid to make it possible. Today, a ship entering the canal follows a carefully coordinated process, moving from one ocean through a sequence of locks, across the artificial lake, and down again to the other side, completing in hours what once took weeks. The Panama Canal is, in many ways, an artificial mark carved into the surface of the earth, but it is also something more. A demonstration of what happens when an obstacle is no longer accepted as permanent. Two oceans that were once divided by nature are now connected by human decision, and that decision continues to shape the movement of goods, power, and influence across the world today.